We talk fantasy, the fantasy football podcast here on Godzilla Media, giving you all the insight you need to continue to help win your leagues and more. It is Chet Davis. It is Kyle Ray. It is Gaz here with you. Don't forget, by the way, DraftKings, promo code 518 for more information on all the great things happen with DraftKings, our partners. Check out our variety of Godzilla Media podcasts. Getting there with Gaz, Levac and Gaz, more information for you on there. Make sure to download, subscribe, rate, and review. All right, guys, let's dive into it. The Week 6 headlines. When we look back in the history, I don't like how that banner looks on our visual side. I'm keeping it off. Hated how that looked. Week 6 headlines. Chet, Ray, whoever wants to go first, when we think back last week, what's going to stand out in that fantasy football world?
Kyle, I'll let you go.
Yeah, so I'm going to kick it off, and it's exactly the tweet that I sent you guys yesterday. Credit to Matt DeSorbo, who did all this math, because our research team is not that advanced. There's no way that
don't talk down on our stats.
I'm sorry. They don't have the time. They're really busy helping us get those fantasy relevant players.
Should we reveal their names to the public?
No, not yet. Let's not do that.
Paco and Rocco? Come on, those guys are amazing.
Oh, that was perfect. So it's crazy. Fantasy football scoring is down 22% from last year at this time. How insane is that? I mean, we saw it again this week. Like, I know last week one of my points last week was we started seeing the scoring. Teams were getting into the 120s and 130s, and the margin of victory was widening. But it just came right back down this week. I mean, there were teams that were winning. I got beaten in one league on 93-92, and we were in the middle of the pack for scoring. It's like it blows my mind, and a part of it obviously is the high-powered scoring offenses aren't there. You're seeing a lot of teams just put up 20 and 21 points. I mean, guys, you also set it out. If you had put $100 on every NFL game under this year, you would be up $1,500. I mean, dumb. I'm stupid. Why haven't I thought of that? But it's just a crazy stat. So scoring's down. Don't feel bad if you're sitting there saying, I've only put up 90, 98 points. Guess what? You're probably in the top third of your league in points scored at that point. And the only reason that you're in that portion is because somebody has that super team that it looks like because they hit on a DeAndre Swift or an AVS and all those late round picks. But yeah, the fantasy scoring for me has been a roller coaster ride of emotions. So
yeah, actually, where Kyle is on the visual side, if you're taking a look right now, my butt cheeks were on that couch right over his shoulder on Sunday. And I think for most of those 1:00 games, Kyle and I were like, it's just the no names also that are just kind of stealing the show, where it's, Denver right now is rocking 3 tight ends, and Albert O is not one of them. It's one of those years where we're just seeing a lot of different names. The creativity, I don't know if you want to blame Andy Reid, who, loves to find a way to find a random person to score a touchdown, whether it's a fullback or a lineman, whatever. My thing, and I got to kind of own up to this a little bit. I feel like I was off the mark in the preseason, where I thought this was going to be a down year for rookies. And right now, rookie running backs are looking like league winners. And I'm talking about Breece Hall, who I don't think is being talked about enough, as I wasn't super high on it because I didn't know how good the Jets were going to be. And he wasn't the only one in the backfield. So I was like, what is this really going to look like? He's been fantastic and consistent. We all saw what Kenneth Walker is capable of doing, and Kyle's been yelling that from the rooftops for the last 2 years, how good Kenneth Walker is.
By the way, real quick on Kenneth Walker, what was it, 22 broken tackles since
I actually have it right here. In the last 2 weeks, Kenneth Walker has forced 14 missed tackles. Only person better, a fellow rookie, Dameon Pierce, who has now broken, he was off last week, but 17 broken tackles in 2 weeks. So those 3, some of them, I think Kenneth Walker was probably the latest drafted, and he's maybe looking like one of the best options out there. But teams that rolled the dice on Breece Hall and Dameon Pierce feel like geniuses right now, especially with some of the underwhelming performances we saw of those top-tier running backs. I mean, some of those guys, Aaron Jones, can you even play Aaron Jones right now? Like, some of those guys that were high in the first and second round, you're not feeling great about. And those rookies have really taken over on offenses that, let's face it, we didn't think we were going to be that good. Like, were you excited about the Texans, the Jets, or the Seahawks? That was the reason I was so low on Kenneth Walker, is how was Geno Smith or Drew Lock going to move the football on a team that had a terrible offensive line that ran Russell Wilson out of town? I was like, he might be the best running back in the world, but I don't think he can score touchdowns. Wow, how wrong I was, and I apologize profusely to Geno Smith.
I also think, too, Chet, to that point, it's like we looked at the Seahawks and had so many questions, but we were so confident in the Detroit Lions. I know the situations are a little different, but did any of us see the Detroit Lions going this direction outside of the Patriots week being the number one scoring offense?
Yeah,
like,
no. It's one of those weird years, man.
Yep.
It's interesting because now my answer kind of sandwiches in between both of your guys, because I have two takes from this week of the big headlines. One, it goes back to what Ray said there about overall scoring, especially non-PPR leagues. Like half PPR is obviously right in the middle. Non-PPR leagues, kickers and defenses on average are outscoring skill guys. Running backs, wide receiver, tight ends. Now, if you're at a half-point PPR, you're probably seeing your top 10 around 100 points, so probably like that's 16 to 17 points per game. You get into like the 30s, you're starting to match up face-to-face with kickers and defenses. That's half-point PPR. I mean, we're talking non-PPR leagues, non-bonus leagues. Kickers and defenses are outscoring those guys. So it kind of goes to that same thing where is this trend going to stop this season? I don't know what tells me it's going to, because I know kickers and defenses aren't going to get hurt, and those guys who are potentially in that mix can get hurt. And what Chet said, rookies are performing really well. So what sucks for guys like us who love fantasy football, and not just love fantasy football, we love looking towards the future, like 2023 picks and projecting and trades. The value of trading 2023 picks or future picks is so much more difficult now, because what unfortunately we're watching is that like next year's draft. All right, let's say your team sucks right now and you want a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick or a 5th round pick. You are so gun shy right now as a manager to be like, oh, I got to get a 4th and a. No, my 4th and 5th stink right now. Like those guys you took in 2022, you are shaken. Maybe it's just me. I'm shaken about future draft picks, because what Chet just said, I can get a 9th, 10th, or 11th young rookie with high potential rather than a veteran who's been consistent and stinks, and I blow a season and a pick on somebody. Am I fearful now? And I don't know if you guys feel that same way, that it feels like I'm rethinking how I even have to deal with my teams a year from now because of what's going on right now in fantasy.
I will say it's funny how the trend has kind of changed, where those wide receiver rookies just like shot out of the gates. I mean, how high was everybody on Drake London? And how high was everybody on, I'm picturing him,
Olave, Wilson.
Garrett, thank you. Garrett Wilson, who had that huge breakout in week 2 or 3. All of those guys, Olave missed last week with that concussion, but all those guys have come back down to earth and are kind of on that now fringe startability, where again these rookie running backs are taking off. As it's funny when you say about picks for next year, depending on what format you're in, I think if you're in a redraft league where you can trade draft picks, if that's a thing, I haven't been in one of those personally. Hell yeah. Give me all the picks, because then you can just try to map it out. And yeah, you're going to miss on some, but do your research, go with the young bucks, especially when it comes to running back. For Dynasty, man, it's becoming more and more intriguing, because we just see, they talk about the RB dead zone, right? Like after those first couple rounds, running backs between rounds 3 and 5 usually suck. Just like no matter who the name is, if they're drafted there, they're usually, they're not going to deliver big performances. I feel like the gap's wider than ever. Like it's those top guys that we feel confident about, and then just a huge gap of these veteran players that it's just like, I don't know if it's because offenses, we're seeing more injuries, and so guys aren't getting the same amount of snaps. So I don't know what it is. I don't know why we're not seeing the consistency of big performances outside of those top guys.
Yes, for sure. It's a very interesting year what's happening, and it feels as if some of these things are going to continue, but even with week after week, we're still getting the We Talk. God, I hate that banner so much. That's going to be the title of this episode. I hate the banners. The WTF moment of the week. Before we get to it, let's tell you about our friends over at Mohawk Honda. Looking for a new vehicle this fall as the weather continues to change. We hope that you stop over to Mohawk Honda and get yourself a new ride. Shout out to Scott Moynihan back in Mohawk Honda. 30 plus years of experience in the automobile industry, helping you find a new ride. Glenville, New York is a spot wherever you listen to this. We tell you to head over to Mohawk Honda, get yourself a new vehicle, work with people you can trust during the car buying experience. I'm just giving my mother-in-law some tips on a new vehicle. I had to explain the supply chain to her. She was frustrated. That is everywhere. That is the world, okay? It's a weird time right now, but there's a reason why you can trade back your vehicle for maybe that same price you bought it for years ago and benefit with the new ride. 2023s are on the way. Pilots, passports, Ridgelines, and more. It's happening at Mohawk Honda. We will be there, Godzilla Media, Thursday, October 27th. And for more future shows of when we'll be broadcasting live from Mohawk Honda, check out GodzillaMedia.com. It's Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. All right, guys, the week 6 WTF moment of the week for you was what? Who wants to lead this one off?
I'll start with this one. We all play in a dynasty league that includes my lovely brother, Matthew Davis, who now Goz has actually met in person. He is the brain behind that logo that you see.
Yeah.
He designed that and drew that himself. So why did I just bring him up?
The WTF moment of the week. I'm assuming it has something to do with this lineup.
I actually don't know why. This is where I was going with it. Him and I, we have been saying for weeks, if not months, if not years, that we are going to embark on our gambling journey. Like every week, we're like, dude, is this the week we're going to do it? Obviously, you two degenerates are terrible influences with how much you guys gamble and lose on a weekly basis. Actually, I don't know about if Goz is in the green, but I know Kyle's situation.
Promo code 518, Matt Davis. Don't forget, 5 for 200.
After last night, your boy's fine.
NBA, apparently. You need to start your NBA podcast.
Let's not.
But my WTF moment of the week was what happened on Monday night. For anybody out there that uses DraftKings, I'm not sure if they're going to be a sponsor of this podcast. Maybe it was in the works at some point. I don't want to blow up anyone's spot. But so DraftKings, they might be evil geniuses, because if you use that app, you might have seen a Justin Herbert boost. So for you guys, I'll pause. I'll let either of you explain what a boost means when you see that on a DraftKings.
Essentially, what it means is they boost the odds significantly. In this situation, they boosted it to even. So if you bet $10,
plus 100 actually.
Well, yeah, that's 1-to-1.
Oh, thank you. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Clearly, I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah. So,
but it was negative 800,
which would have paid you 20 cents on a $10 bet.
And the bet was that Justin Herbert would throw one singular passing touchdowns. One of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He had thrown a touchdown in 26 consecutive regular season games. Boosted it before kickoff. I'm sure everyone ate it up. Free. That's free money. I get to see a husband explaining it to his family of why they weren't eating dinner that night, because he was saying, honey, I put all my money on this for sure bet. Free money. We're gonna be drinking pina coladas tomorrow, baby. And it didn't hit, including a game that had overtime. No touchdowns from Justin Herbert. I am now terrified to ever gamble. And that was my WTF moment, because anybody that had an investment outside of Austin Eckler on that Chargers team on Monday night might be divorced by now.
That's so good.
Guys, was it also just, I saw it like 2.5, 3 hours before kickoff. It wasn't like it was sitting there all day, was it?
No, and that's what makes me like, what happened? What did they know that it was like, did the doctor tell them they poked Herbert's lung before the game and he's not going to be accurate because he only has half a lung? Like, what intel made them think no touchdowns from this guy tonight? What?
Our proud friends at DraftKings, our proud friends, which by the way,
we'll call them proud friends. I like that. So here you go.
Right.
Here you go, boys. Well, I'll do a trick question. I'll say in 2 weeks, if you see a DraftKings boost for Josh Allen to score a touchdown, are you running for the hills? Are you like, no, you're not catching me twice?
I'm a sucker. I'll take it 100 times out of 100.
You know what, DraftKings? After winning all that money, by the way.
This week?
What's that?
Will you take it this week?
100%.
Yeah, they're on a buy, you dum-dum.
Hey.
I was going to say, with all that money DraftKings just won, don't forget you can actually send your check over to Godzilla Media. We're still waiting on that, by the way. I've billed you guys 3 times. Whatever, I'll leave that in the podcast. Ray, go right ahead. What's your WTF moment of the week? That one is so good. That Herbert one's legendary.
Yeah, Chet, you should have gone last. What is up with that?
Yeah, good luck.
It has to go kind of with my previous take, and when we were talking about Detroit. Where is the offense? Where has the offenses gone? I mean, it kind of go with the gambling. The line was set at 53.5 for the Bills Chiefs game. 44 points, way under. And I know everybody that I talked to that sports bet like, yeah, I'm taking the over on that game. Yeah, I'm taking the over. Like nobody thought for a second to take the under because again, 28-27 pays, like 28-31 pays. Those are the games that I'm sitting there going, what? How is it set here? I'm going to take the over 100% of the time. And it didn't hit. And that's kind of where my WTF moment is going. Like, where's the offense? What's going on? What are these offensive coaches doing? Or are we finally seeing the uprise of defenses? Because you can admit that we have started to see a shift with defensive ends starting to be those impact players and on every team. A lot of teams have a defensive lineman who's consistently getting in the backfield, that's consistently getting better, that you have to game plan around, and is wreaking havoc. I know one of the big things being a Bills fan was the Bills built this team last year to compete with the Chiefs, and they did. And their piece that they were missing was a defensive lineman that could change the game. Patrick Mahomes was, I think, pressured 14 times against the Bills and sacked three or four times. That's something that the Bills haven't done, and obviously it plays a factor. That's the part from a WTF that I'm continuing to see myself look at and sitting here going, what do we got to do to change offenses? And from a fantasy perspective, how creative sometimes do you have to get? Is this year more important than ever to look at matchups and see, hey, this team struggles against tight end twos, and all of a sudden you play whoever Deutsch for the Broncos over Albert O. Like, those are the stats I think we're in this year because of all these no-names scored. And so, like you said, Chad, as your butt was firmly planted right there, it was just no name after no name after no name. And I think both of us sat there and go, when are one of our guys going to score a touchdown? I want to have fun.
I love that during those games, Kyle would be like, oh, is that Nick Chubb? I'm like, no, it's a third stringer. Oh, okay. Oh, is that Kamara? No, it's not. It's somebody else.
My favorite was the backup tight end for Atlanta.
Oh yeah, you're like, yeah, tight end, wrong tight end. Guys, you might want to just take off your headset, maybe mute me for a second. Maybe one of the reasons we're seeing this huge fallback in offenses, we always love to talk about there's a shortage of competent quarterbacks, right? There's only like a dozen good quarterbacks. I think offensive lines have just gone completely south. Like all these offensive lines are getting exposed. I saw this clip. I won't name his name because honestly, I forget what it is. But he's a Packers guard who just got his ass handed to him. And I don't care how good you are, if you're Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen's in his own category because he can't escape those rushing linebackers or D tackles, whatever. But these quarterbacks are just getting rushed. They're just getting crushed in their, second and short sack, third and long sack. Like, I think that's what's collapsing a lot of these offenses is they just can't block anybody. Like, these schemes are just terrible.
Is that credit to defensive line play or offensive line
inabilities? Both. I don't know, man. Guys, they need you, buddy.
Well, that clip, I think we're talking about the similar clip. That's Quinnen Williams from the Jets who was dominating. Brian Baldinger, who does the Baldy tapes on Twitter. I think you and I saw the same cut where that cut made Quinnen Williams look like Bruce Smith and Reggie White had a baby. Like it's the most impressive thing I've ever seen Baldinger put on his tapes. Just him dominating the Packers up front. I wonder if the easy thing
guy's
is
name was Royce Newman. The guard for the Packers who literally was on his ass half the game getting bulldozed.
Here's what kind of happened in the NFL, right? Like the Buccaneers and the Rams, they lost a lot of guys up front. The Packers the same way. Really what happened is NFL teams decided we're going to spend our money on quarterbacks and skill guys. And we're going to have to pay cheap offensive linemen. And that's the product they got basically
Right.
in the end.
Right. No, I think that's a huge problem. And even some of these teams, what was the big knock on Cincinnati last year? Even though they did make a Super Bowl run, is they can't protect Joe Burrow, and they still can't protect him, even though they went out and got La'el Collins. Like, guys that we think are plug and play linemen haven't lived up to that either. And so, we all love in fantasy the big name superstars, the weapons, the quarterbacks. Dude, if you're on a team that has a bad offensive line, you're going to be yelling at your screen every Sunday because your quarterback has no time, your running back has no room, and then the whole offense sputters.
Mine's Zeke. Just one word. You guys all warned me about Zeke Elliott. That's it.
Didn't he play? Didn't he play pretty good?
He played fine. Here's my problem with Zeke. He's averaging less than 15 carries a game.
Yeah.
And he's playing. It's just never going to change. But that's it. Like, he's so good. I'm frustrated by that.
Domo arigato, guys. I think you're gone now.
Yeah. Oh, he's coming back. Yeah, I see him. He's smiling. He's laughing. Okay.
Give me
That's
more
it.
pixels.
Yeah.
That's it. Just Zeke, I was going to say.
You got that Glenville internet working for you. Although Kyle's still looking beautiful. Zeke is one of those guys. I wanted no investment in it because he is very much in a timeshare, and he's I guess you could call it the old man out, not the odd man. He's the old man. And they love, Tony Pollard has had some great big plays this year, and Zeke he's just kind of sluggish. And I think the only way he could have salvaged himself as the Zeke of old is if he got all the goal line work, and we're not seeing that. So, but he's not alone. There's a lot of guys like that in the NFL right now and that's part of what's making fantasy so difficult week in, week out, is you can make all the right decisions, and then the backup running back gets the goal line touchdown. And you're like, why do I deserve that? So there's just so few of these guys that are still the bell cows, the workhorses that are on run first offenses. It's rare to find that combination anymore.
It sucks, man.
It
Never again. You guys have warned me for years not to do it, and sure enough, I did it. And he's playing well. That's the thing. Like, it's never going to get better for Zeke. He's going to go play for another team next year. He's probably middle of the road.
Yep.
You guys want to talk some waiver wire?
As long as you get rid of the waiver wire.
You got anything this week for the waiver wire?
Why has this waiver wire just not changed? It is so bad. And I think we've hit on all the people that would have been on the waiver wire that could have been added. Go back to some of our past episodes and check your waiver wire to see if any of them are on there. I think one that may, and we saw it last Monday night because of what went on with Gordon. Melvin Gordon's done. I think, Chet, you said it. Does he see another snap for the Denver offense? I'm sure a lot of people picked up Latavius Murray because he was the name. Well done, guys. So if Latavius Murray's out there, try to go grab him. But also don't forget about Mike Boone. Mike Boone had some splash plays. We talked about him in previous podcasts. He's still only owned in 24% of the leagues. I don't think Latavius Murray looked like, oh my God, he should be the starter. I liked what Mike Boone did when Melvin went in the doghouse originally. Do they give him another chance? Who knows? But I think when you look at the Denver running back situation, Mike Boone / Latavius Murray might be those options that you really kind of take a peek at and go after. Chet, you look like you're brewing up something in your mind there.
No, I spilled my drink.
Oh, unfortunate.
That's
my Zeke take is what it did.
Yeah, I don't have any paper towels. It's kind of spreading. I don't know what to do.
Panic ensues.
Yep.
And then the other one, I had his name written down. And of course, when you work the hours I work, possible with the injury to Marquise Brown, there is a possibility. Please, for the love of God, everybody, if you listen to this podcast, I'm looking right in the camera. Do not go pick up AJ Green. Don't do it. You will be very upset with yourself. However, Greg Dortch could play that fill-in role for Marquise Brown in the interim. Now, you may look and go, Kyle, what the hell are you thinking? What has he done? Just go back to what he did earlier in the year when he was being involved in that offense. Against KC, 9 targets, 63 yards on 7 catches. Las Vegas, 4 for 4, 55 and a touchdown. Rams, 9 for 10, 80 yards. So he has shown that he's been on some productive streaks. And now Marquise is gone. You're going to have D-Hop. You're going to have Vomit, AJ Green. And then who else? You got Zach Ertz out there.
Rondell Moore.
Yep, Rondell Moore, who's been just super unimpressive this year.
Well, he was hurt for that, and that's what kind of opened the door for Dortch was, Rondell got hurt. They both play that slot position. Another guy, I mean, I'm not going out there and making any moves for him, but Robbie Anderson, that's why they went and got him to similar position. If you want to say X, Y, whatever, plays the same type of role that Marquise Brown could in that offense. So he's also there.
One other thing we should add here, too. I know the big theme has been lack of scoring. Bye weeks are here.
Oh, guys, I just pulled that up, dude. It's brutal. It is. I mean, it's not. We have Bye Mageddon coming up in a few weeks where there's more teams. This is only 4 teams. But holy shit, is it a big 4 teams when it comes to fantasy? Top 2 guys in scoring right now are who?
Josh Allen.
And nope.
Diggs?
Are you referencing Diggs? Okay.
Those are the top 2 fantasy scorers of all players.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know Diggs was up there.
He's number 2 right now. I'm assuming that's in half-point PPR. Cooper Kupp is on. So we got Bills, Rams, Vikings, Eagles. I mean, all 4 of those teams are just loaded at every position.
We're going to see scoring wins of 85-75 this week.
This is where, and you guys, I know Kyle and I have gone back and forth head-to-head on this. This is the week where you win with depth, if you have it. This is where unload your bench, the guy you've been waiting to play, the guy that's been going off on your bench. Here's your chance, man, because you're going to have an availability. I mean, we're talking across the board. How about let's just do just across the board, the receivers that are missing this week. Diggs, Kupp, Jefferson, AJ Brown.
Woo!
Holy shit. I mean, dude, that's a huge gap that's going to be missing. And then there's running backs on those teams. I guess just so we circle back to waiver wire real quick, my advice is for some of the players, namely Cam Akers, and I would include Melvin Gordon. I personally am not dropping them yet. I want to wait and see how this plays out. You're not if Melvin, we're taping this on a Wednesday at 10:56 a.m. Eastern time. If Melvin Gordon stays on this Denver team this week, you do not play him. You want to see, is he trade bait? Is he getting traded to LA? People have joked about swap Akers and Gordon. Let them both start over on new teams. I want to wait and see. You guys know I'm not a huge fan of Melvin Gordon's game. I think he is a falling back. Like he just literally falls forward for 3 yards and then usually fumbles. But if he is able to get in a situation where he can retake a backfield, you're not going to find that on the waiver wire week in, week out. So don't be the guy that cuts bait early, watches somebody else pick him up, and then find a role on another team. I feel the same way about Cam Akers. There could be a lot of moving pieces as we get closer to the trade deadline. So I'm going to wait and see where they land, if they land, and then make a decision whether to cut ties completely or, hey, maybe I just found an RB2.
You gave me a good segue there, Chet. The waiver wire, Ray did as best as he could with the mess that is this bye week. You mentioned Akers. You mentioned Melvin Gordon. You sent this text to both Ray and I. What do people do with McCaffrey? Yeah. Because the Chiefs have made a move now restructuring Kelsey. The stuff you just said there is more about cutting and opening up roster space, and the running back position is just still so thin. How do we handle McCaffrey? Because he's still somewhere in the top 5 or 10 or value and all that. But man, if you get a good enough deal that you can deal him away, I think every manager's got to sit down and be like, okay, he might get traded. He might not. If the price is too high and he sits on Carolina, good God, that offense is terrible. The McCaffrey thing is a historic moment in fantasy. I don't think that's an over-exaggeration where this could be a season championship decision move by a manager. I guess I'll answer my question first and let you guys go first. I wouldn't touch him either because there's just too much uncertainty of what could happen with a top-tier back like him. And hell, if he goes to Buffalo, if he goes to Kansas City, that could be the guy who wins you a fantasy football championship. I would not move him. Even if you're 0-5, I probably wouldn't move. Or 0-6, probably because there's been 6 weeks that have been played.
I misunderstood your take until the very end. I thought you were saying you want no part of Christian McCaffrey. You're saying hold put, right?
Hold gang, baby, like
I
Bitcoin.
Completely agree. Because right now in half-point PPR, Christian McCaffrey is running back number 4 on a terrible offense. So if that's what he's giving you right now, he's only going to go up if he somehow lands in Buffalo, or if he lands in Kansas City or LA, teams that are making peculiar moves to open up cap space. You don't know exactly who it's for. Again, he could only put himself in a better situation from where he is now, a team that has a better chance of scoring touchdowns weekly. So yeah, hold put, because what if you traded now, it's the lowest his value will be all year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say outside of that. I think you do need to hold. I would say, though, if you are in God's situation, you're 0-6 right now. Dude, try to get some draft picks. I mean, in this current situation, I mean, maybe you can make the playoffs, but you're in a tough spot. If you're in a league that trades draft picks and somebody's willing to offer you a 1 for McCaffrey for next year and you're 0-6, I would maybe look at taking it, because it's going to be hard to come back from that 1-6 as Chet almost falls over. But I would take some of that. I agree, the holding, especially if you've won 2 or 3 games. But 0-6 is going to be tough in this year's fantasy to come back from.
I've got a Mirage here for you guys both. One combined with 2 New York teams. All right. I'm going to actually give the question first. We're going to give love to Lily and David Fine Jewelers. So I'll get you guys to think about this. All right. Real or Mirage? The New York Jets are a top 5 team in the AFC and a top 10 team in the NFL. And the New York Giants are a top 5 team in the NFC and a top 10 team in the NFL. Before either one of you answer, because there's some fantasy implications for both those New York teams.
You're such a tease.
We're going to tell you about Lily and David Fine Jewelers. It's their 10th anniversary celebration going on right now. A family-owned and operated business. Route 50, the shops of Wilton. If you are married like us three, you got to make sure the wife is happy, whether it's the holiday season or the fall wedding. Take care of her with 60% off pieces of jewelry. Over 600 pieces in store right now. Check out Lily and David Jewelers. .com. Check them out on Facebook as well, where they're going to help you find exactly what you're looking for. Shout out to Alyssa, David, the entire crew there. Trust me, I know from experience, my wedding band, Lily and David Fine Jewelers, the engagement ring, the past gifts for the holidays, and more. We hope that you can support a family-owned and operated business like Lily and David Fine Jewelers. On our visual side, there's that logo in the top right corner. The way I've gone today with banners and graphics, I'm not even going to point because I'll probably miss that. You can help Lily and David Fine Jewelers by stopping in. Trust me, if they can help me, they can definitely help you. It's Lily and David Fine Jewelers, Route 50, the shops of Wilton. When you stop in, tell them you heard about it from We Talk Fantasy here on Godzilla Media. All right, who wants to dive into that monster Mirage he just plopped on the table? The top 5 of the conferences, that's right, and top 10 in the league of the Jets and the Giants.
Hell no.
Oh.
Now I don't know which one. Let me pull up the teams real quick. This is how I'm gonna handle it, Kyle. And let you guys a little time. I'm gonna do a little counting game. You know, people are like, all right, is this quarterback top 10? Well, I'm gonna name 10 quarterbacks better. Here are 10 teams better. Here we go. Buffalo Bills. So we'll start with the Jets. Bills are better. Raven and Kyle, how about this? We'll do a teamwork. If you disagree, just scream. Ravens are better.
Hang on, I got to pause you on the Ravens because the Jets did beat the Ravens. Okay, well,
they're better. Bengals are better. Nobody in the AFC. Oh my God!
You forgot the Chiefs. How have you forgotten the Chiefs?
Oh, I was looking at the AFC South. All right, now we're going to the West. Chiefs are better.
I'm not ready to put.
Chargers are better.
No.
Then the Jets.
I'm not, dude. I'm concerned with the Chargers. The Chargers look.
They are somehow. I was actually joking about this with my brother. Chargers are 4-2. Negative 11 point differential.
That's so stupid.
Come on, math nerds. Tell me how that's even possible.
They remind me of my Dynasty League fantasy football team early in the year.
Somehow winning, but no one knows how.
Dumber stat, that negative 11, or that the Denver Broncos are 2-4 and have only allowed 6 offensive touchdowns to opponents this season.
That poor defense. If only they had a Hall of Fame quarterback under. Oh wait, that's so weird. Yeah. Oh man. Wow. So they're very fringe. Jets are very fringe. Top 5. I'm gonna put it at number 6 on my list.
I can agree with 6 because I think the Colts are also better. I think 6 or 7. I think the Colts are a little bit better than them.
Okay. We'll do the Giants. Guys, I don't really know who's better between the Jets and Giants. I almost put them like butt to butt in terms of who I think is actually better. So in the NFC, ready, Kyle?
Yep.
Eagles.
Yep.
I'm going to circle back on the other team in that division. Vikings.
Yep.
Bucks.
I don't think so because I don't think so.
See, guys, it's tougher than you think.
I don't think the Bucks are better than the Giants. I think the Giants have them.
Okay, I'll just agree. I'll agree. Cowboys
beat them, so I'll give the Cowboys the benefit there.
With Prescott too, yes, 100%.
Okay, now I'm going through the list a second time. San Francisco.
Yep.
LA Rams.
I'm gonna go yes.
Seattle Seahawks. We got our 5.
Well,
that was way tougher than I thought. It is the realest Mirage I've ever had to say.
I think it's a lot easier for us to look at total NFL for both teams. I think there are 10 teams
a dozen teams better.
Yeah.
Like right after that. Yep.
But my biggest concern with both of those teams is their defenses are legit. They got very good defenses. They've proven that they've gotten very good defenses, and it's not like they're facing just complete scrubs. They're actually doing some good work against some decent teams. Par for the course with today's scoring and everything, it does feel like that's kind of happening across the league. However, you have not sold by any means whatsoever. You will not change my mind about either of their offenses.
Right.
Inconsistent, grimy. They are literally the definition of a high school football team. They will grudge it out, run it out. They don't try to throw the ball. And when they do, it looks like a flying duck is in the air. Just neither quarterback right now is blowing me away. They've got good weapons. I'm still a lover of Kenny Galladay. I love him. I think he's a great wide receiver. I think he's a product of what's been going on in the Giants.
Skill or fantasy?
Skill.
Okay.
And then when you look at what the Jets have, they have a great wide receiving core, like really, really good. It's Zach Wilson is just not there yet. So quarterback play is killing them, and that's going to be their downfall. They will lose games 21-3 because they can't get an offense, but their defense will do a good job.
I love that question about the Jets and the Giants, obviously because I asked it. But it's tough because it feels like the better answer. I should have done it in maybe 2 weeks because the Jets have a potential to go 6-2 here in the next 2 games, even though they're the dog to Jacksonville on the road. Talk about stinky line, stinks out loud. There's a chance they're 6-2 and go into a bye week and then get New England after. So people might feel more confident about New York on the Jets side for that. For the Giants, I believe they've got the Jags, the Lions, the Texans, and 2 games with Washington still left, at least in the 5. A 10-win season is reachable now for the Giants. It feels like it might be an easier answer in 2 weeks, but I'm glad you guys both covered the fantasy side of it. Nothing's really changed fantasy-wise, which is remarkable to think 2 surprise teams in the NFL aren't getting offensive output. There's not a breakout start. Like Saquon Barkley has been in the mix as a top fantasy player. He's just having a better season than he's had the last 2 years when he got hurt. We've already mentioned Breece Hall. Even though Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis once in a while pops up and doesn't. Conklin, the tight end for the Jets, has just popped. Like these feel like better non-season players than weekly guys. Like if you're a weekly player, I know some people like that. That's probably better. You're going for a long shot, a long touchdown, and everything else. But yeah, that's the remarkable thing about these 2 teams. It's not Zach Wilson. It's not Daniel Jones. It's coaching and defense. And for fantasy, that's wonderful, but you're not helping us New York teams, especially we already mentioned the other Allen and Diggs are top 2. So lean more towards Bills than Jets and Giants in the fantasy world.
Yes. I have a real and Mirage.
Okay.
I'll throw one in real quick. Real or Mirage? OBJ will have an effect on the fantasy football season.
Mirage.
Ooh.
And the reason I say Mirage is he's looking to go to a competitor. He's going to have to come in, go into an offense that might be different. I mean, I look at if he goes to the Bills, he's going to be asked to do things with the Bills that he hasn't done with other teams. He's going to be the guy that needs to go, honestly, in the slot. I don't think he starts over Gabe Davis or Stephon Diggs, obviously. He's going to be required to go into the slot. Now, I know he played some slots, but those knees are not what they used to be. The ankles aren't like he is banged up. And in that Bills offense, those middle guys are getting rocked and they're getting hit. So I think that's going to play an impact to him. But also, he's going to be option number 3 on these teams that he's looking at, unless he somehow goes to the Chiefs, which I haven't heard any rumors of him going to the Chiefs.
What about the Giants?
You're stuck with Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know one thing he said was he was looking to go to a competitor. I also don't know what competitor is going to pay him the money he wants. So, honestly, I know there's a ton of rumors and stuff. It wouldn't surprise me if OBJ doesn't go anywhere at this point. I know a lot of teams will look at him, but I do not see what team would pay him the money he wants. He wants wide receiver 1 money on a freshly torn ACL, and he denied.
Has he come out and said that?
Yeah, he denied the Rams offer because he wanted to get paid like a wideout 1.
Whoa, I did not see that. So
Ew.
I was going to say, I mean, when he came back and did that, Super Bowl run with the Rams, it was kind of a prove it deal, right? Where there was a lot of incentives, a lot of bonuses built in that he was able to capture, just about all of them. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, he's a guy. How many season-ending injuries has he had? Is he up to 2 or is it 3?
3.
3 now at the Super Bowl, yeah. Technically, if you count that one.
I mean, that's brutal, dude. And all of them were lower half, right? We're talking about ankles and 2 knees.
Yep.
That's brutal, dude. Like, who's willing to invest in a question mark in terms of explosiveness? We all know he has amazing hands, but your hands don't matter if you can't get open. So what do you think, guys? Real Mirage, OBJ will affect this fantasy season?
I feel like we did this last year in November, didn't we? After the trade and everything. I'm not falling for it a second time. Real. Here's how I would describe this. I don't know if you guys played Texas Hold'em. You got in that craze back in the high school days. This feels like if you get Odell Beckham Jr. this month and just stash him on IR or whatever the distinction is with him.
You can't put him on IR. I've learned.
Ooh, okay. That just changed my point then. Okay. Because he's technically not on a roster, right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I was going to say, if you could put him on the IR, hold him like you flop the straight, just start check, and then wait till the river comes and win it. Because in December, let's say he signs with a borderline playoff team. I'm just going to toss names out here. Indianapolis, Jacksonville, I guess Tampa, Atlanta. You guys get the teams. Minnesota, if they want to get the number 1 seed, they're going to use him. If you're going to sign a fringe guy like Odell, he's going to get touches. He's going to get catches. So if you get a receiver who has, at least last year, performed well in fantasy in that second half of the season, and I can be a fantasy manager, and I know he's going to get touches, and I need him for December, that's a good play. If you tell me a wide receiver is going to be guaranteed touches in the most important games in fantasy, I would like that. I don't like that he can't be on IR, though. That I do not like as much. So I guess Real will have an impact. Can we sign him and then put him on the IR to make my life easier and make my take better? So that's my new take.
I like it. I am stuck very much in the middle. I could see it. I'm with Kyle. I don't think he goes to a team and becomes an immediate wide receiver 1. So I think this is going to be a slow introduction. And I think the problem that you'll have is if you're a playoff team, you don't need him, and he will be his most valuable during the playoffs. So what playoff team is going to shake up the roster that got them there for an unsure thing? He's going to do his best work, I think, late in the year. That's when his knee's probably going to be the most stable. Going to be a playoff guy, real NFL playoff guy. And so for your fantasy playoffs, you're just not going to have seen enough to trust it to win you a fantasy title. So I'm very much torn.
I'll have a quick one. We'll make this quick. I know we're hitting. It's not necessarily a Real or Mirage, but it goes back to our earliest point. So if you stuck around, this might be a treat. So in essence I'm sure you all know this game, but we're going to call it start, sit, cut.
Okay.
Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, and help.
Dameon Pierce.
Thank you. Yes. Start, sit, cut.
For rest of the year.
Oh my God.
Dude. Every single one of these players are in what we thought were bad offenses, but have shown out.
I know the answer to this, Kyle, but just for the viewers, we're going to be deciding this based on half-point PPR, correct?
Yes, half-point PPR, right in the middle.
I'll go. I got big balls. I am starting. Oh, flippity floop.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing it. I'm starting Breece Hall. I'm benching Kenneth Walker. I'm cutting Dameon Pierce.
Wow. Guys?
I don't want to sound lame. That's exactly what I was going to do. The only thing that made me reconsider was that I love Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
I think he's fantastic. I think Breece Hall's softer schedule benefits him. And Pierce, I felt like it came out of nowheres again. Like I thought he sucked, then was great, then sucked. I don't need that. I don't need that stress in my life in October, November fantasy, Mr. Pierce. And I like Rex Burkhead. I'm a little biased for that name.
That's fair. That's fair.
I just like of those three, the pass catching of Breece Hall. He is very much involved. Great in open space. I think that's not going to change. And so he's just getting better and better, man. Big play potential, strong, fast. I don't know. He's put up some. If you go look at his stats, he's a few touchdowns away from having we're talking top 5 RB production right now. Remember when he got tackled at the 1 twice in the same game?
Yeah.
That could have been no joke, a 35 to 40 point game. It ended up being only 25. That guy's legit.
Breece Hall reminds me of Jamar Chase of last year. Just breaking stuff, going on long runs. Now, granted, you just hit the nail on the head with the touchdowns. He hasn't been getting all those touchdowns, but just his big play ability is insane. Ironically, I had Breece Hall as number 1. Kenneth Walker. I think we were all on the same page. Breece, Kenneth, and Damon, which is crazy for me to think because it's not like Damon's been a schmuck.
No,
he's been real impressive,
fantastic and explosive. I still don't fully buy into that offense.
Yes,
I think he's a great talent. Yeah, it's if you have any three of those guys, don't feel offended that we're cutting Dameon Pierce. You're in great shape. You're in great shape. I wish I had all 3 on my team. I would start all 3 and not think twice about it.
You want to know what's crazy? You could have had all 3 of them.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
And you're sitting there smiling with a Stephon Diggs and somebody else and that wide receiver 1 and 2 and just sitting there with your hands behind your head yeah, I win. Good luck, everybody.
Exactly.
Give that person manager of the year. Put it in the awards section, no doubt. I'll be the first to say we were great today. These are fantastic questions. We had the mind churn it a little bit. Imagine if somebody's Wi-Fi knew how to run banners. This could have been arguably a perfect show by the WTF crew. Fantastic stuff. We'll talk again soon. All right, catch you guys later.
See ya.
Go Bills.